Okay, ready to go?
I think it looks like it's recording now.
Good.
Yeah. So,
all right,
so
good.
everybody, welcome to this webinar from Ireland. I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Anthony Buckley. I'll let him introduce himself in a moment. But we're going to cover, what's the situation like in Ireland right now? We're going to talk a bit about the ways that TU Dublin are supporting international students who have been studying from home for this semester. We're going to look ahead to what is the autumn going to look like at TU Dublin, and then we're going to talk specifically about Dr. Buckley's faculty, the business faculty, and the program that he's particularly responsible for, the MSc in Business and Entrepreneurship, which is a really exciting program that I think a lot of you are going to be interested in. So we'll cover all of that on the webinar today. But Anthony, Dr. Buckley, let me hand over to you to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Jacob. I'd like to welcome everybody from wherever you are to a sunny Dublin. The weather is particularly nice at the moment. But as Jacob said, we've had, obviously, like everybody else, some challenges over the last few months. So our buildings literally have been closed since March, mid-March, when the coronavirus obviously hit very hard. So students have been working from home since. Now, the one thing I again just want to maybe talk to everybody about is that we invested last year in a new virtual learning environment called Brightspace. So maybe people are familiar with this. It is a very current and very, very good virtual learning environment. And we have managed to finish out the semester online. And now we're actually conducting our examination diet through Brightspace substantially. So lecturers have chosen to either move online with their examinations or move to continuous assessment, so that we achieve the learning outcomes from all of the modules on all of the programs, and we don't compromise the education of the students. International students obviously were in in their own difficult situation, and have made various decisions. Some have chosen to remain in Ireland, and I think Jacob will verify that the country has responded very well to the threat of the virus. Yes, we've had some deaths, obviously, through it, like every other country, but there is a 5-phase plan, as Jacob mentioned, to bring the country back to normality. So come September, I suppose, Jacob, I really move fairly swiftly into that. What's actually going to happen? Well, the first thing I can say to you is every year the academic staff are required to sign on to the university on the 1st of September. And that's going to happen exactly the same as it always does this year. So we have been advised, subject to hello.
Sorry, Anthony. Hi,
no
guys.
Problem,
can
Jacob.
we keep ourselves on mute here, please? Can we keep ourselves on mute? Yeah, that's great. That's great.
That was great. Yeah. So just to say, and back to the notifications that Jacob has received as well. On the 1st of September, the staff are required to sign in as normal. So we will be back to business, if you like, as normal from the 1st of September. Classes are now due to start on the 21st of September. Whereas normally we would start classes on the 14th of September. And that's to help facilitate our own local students who did not finish out their final exams, as Jacob will know, at second level. So that'll give us a little bit more time to process their applications. What's going to happen from an international student perspective? The information I can give you at the moment is is that obviously classes will start as normal, but some will be delivered online for obvious reasons, because if social distancing is maintained, which it's likely to be, the capacity of our buildings will be greatly reduced. Now, what are the implications for international students? Well, international students, I believe, will have two choices, really. One is they may be facilitated to attend classes from their own country, which for me partly defeats the purpose of an international student coming to experience the education system of another country. Or they can come to the country but will not have as many in-class classes as they would have had under normal circumstances. And obviously that would be, for me, a better experience. I think the country itself generally is managing the virus as best it can. I mean, Jacob is living here. He knows that. I mean, it's not perfect, but it is well ranked in terms of how it's handling this crisis. So, you know, we'll be moving online. I would argue it's probably going to be more blended learning, but the VLE, or the virtual learning environment that we have, has turned out to be even more robust than we were expecting. We have had no difficulties administering exams, and we've had classes of, we don't do large classes, as Jacob would know, but some of the larger classes of 100 plus students have had no difficulties administering. Some of the lectures will now be recorded. The staff have moved down the learning curve of the technology very, very fast, perhaps faster than some of them would have expected. So broadly speaking, the support is there. The delivery will be different, but I expect it to proceed as normal, subject obviously to something drastic happening again, and fingers crossed or whatever. We hope that doesn't happen.
So Dr. Buckley, can I summarize and check that I've understood? So so actually, you know, as we know in Ireland, campuses have been closed for current students since the middle of March, and students started studying online since March the 16th, I think. And you know, what's been really advantageous for TU Dublin students is that you had made a really sensible investment in a great virtual learning environment called Brightspace.
Brightspace,
so
again,
Brightspace. So that's the system that students have been using, you know, and it has that full suite of functionality to enable students to watch videos of their lectures that have been recorded if their faculty have produced that, you know, to submit assignments online, to have online, chat functionality with staff and students, all of that. So that now that TU Dublin have announced that in September, we know the start date, the 26th of September. And obviously the preference is that we'll be able to open up on campus fully. But if there is some social distancing required, and probably we expect that might be the case, you know, some of the lectures, for example, you know, may not be able to accommodate the number of people that they have in the past. If that is the case, then the delivery will be blended. And that means there will be some portion of the studies, you know, done online, and some portion, maybe students starting to come on campus, for example, for labs or for the work that they need to do. And I think the really important thing for Ireland, and so, you know, for people listening, you need to apply for a visa before you come to Ireland for most countries around the world. And even before you start, even if you were to study online, you would need that visa before you started online. And of what course, we hear from the visa office is that they are going to, in normal times, they would give you an entry date, you know, around the 1st of September, a few weeks either side for you to come. But because the start date has been moved, what we understand the visa office will do is give you a post-dated start date and say you can start from X date. You can arrive from X date, so that actually, even where a component of your studies is taught online, you'll be able to, you know, in our terminology, we would call that onshore online. So you would come to Ireland, you would be in your accommodation, you know, you would be here in Ireland, but a component of your studies would be online or would be blended, some online, some offline. So Dr. Buckley, if I kind of summarize that, effectively enough.
Yeah, Jacob, that's exactly what's happening. I mean, and the other thing about TU Dublin, as we discussed before, is particularly at master's level, our classes are small. We do not do large classes, and I can't emphasize that enough, because it's a core component of the philosophy of what we do. I mean, we differentiate ourselves from the other universities, and they're all very good, by the way. We're practice-based, research-informed rather than research-led. So teaching is the core and the lead thing that we do. So the student experience and a teaching experience is crucially important. The rooms then that we teach in obviously are much smaller. The classes are smaller. Yes, we'll be only able to take a certain amount, but I think we'll be in a better position to accommodate students, particularly at master's level, physically, to keep that physical connection, which for me is crucial. That it's just the way I like to operate. I get to know this. We get to know the students really, really well. So keeping that connection and keeping that lifeline to the campus would be really important. And given, for example, in my own program, which we'll talk about, so we take a maximum of 25 to 30 students. So again, they can be divided out. We can stagger them. We can make sure that the curriculum is developed. We have them in, for example, each semester for maximum 3 days a week, because there's a lot of group work to be done and around. So a lot of that's done online and virtually. So you can see how hopefully we should be able to accommodate that.
So, what we're saying that even where a student should expect blended learning, there's a lot that TU Dublin is able to do to ensure social distancing, to mean that there will be on-campus time, and the online component. You've already been working on, for the remainder of this semester. And that's great. And Dr. Buckley, could you talk a bit about, the support that's provided to international students in the business faculty and even in, TU Dublin generally, because, the feedback that I've had is that students have really felt supported during this last semester, which has since March has been online. Staff are working from home, but they're still working, and the emails are coming. Call centers are open. They're able to talk to people. Tell me a bit about the support that's been provided, from your perspective.
Well, one of the things, Jacob, as I say, our campus, for example, the College of Business campus, as you know, is in the centre of the city. We've about 5,000 students in the College of Business, both full and part-time and international. And we have almost like our own support system for students belonging to that campus. So for example, on campus, we would have a very strong students' union. And I think that's really important. And I know people coming from different, cultures and all, the students' union, for example, would have a different kind of stature or stance. But the students' union in TU Dublin are actually represented at the council level, the controlling council. So they're regarded as partners rather than as, a subsidiary of everything else. So again, we encourage the international students to be very active and identify very quickly their student representative, which is crucial in case there's any academic issues. We also have counselling on campus, both psychological and medical. We have a medical centre as well. So again, once the student identifies or that there is a problem or an issue, we deal with it immediately. The other thing is we have a superb kind of award-winning career service. So any of the students who are interested in staying in Europe or working in Ireland or working for the multinationals or staying on for extra study to do a PhD or whatever, we have kind of advice on that for them. So it's if I was to get one word across, I'd say the service is very personal. It's very individual, and hopefully each student, benefits from that. But that's the feedback I get, Jacob, as well. No matter where the students come from, we get to know them very well, and there is a very strong support service. But also, it's a two-way process. They have to open themselves up, obviously, as well to it. And sometimes that takes, a first semester, particularly if we're coming. We're in a different country. We feel, but we see the confidence growing. as the weeks go on, not just the months,
Yeah,
the weeks. Yeah.
That's so true. That's so true, Dr. Buckley, isn't it? And I think, you know, to take one example of that support that's being provided, you know, the careers advice and careers service that TU Dublin provides, is superb. You know, it is helping students right now. So you would be surprised, you know, there are students graduating now. There are jobs available. You know, Ireland is really lucky to have a tech sector. You know, sectors of the economy that are really resilient in the current crisis. You know, we know Facebook is hiring thousands of new staff. You know, so the tech sector,
Google,
but also exactly. You know,
management consultancy.
So that those business professions are hiring. You know, for those thinking of doing sciences programs, you know, the biopharma, the med tech, you know, those sectors are hiring, and the careers service at TUD is helping students right now. You know, get their CVs improved, you know, start submit them. But it's interesting what you say, Dr. Buckley, which is, you know, students, you know, there are steps that students can take themselves now. And even if you're thinking of coming to TU Dublin in the autumn, you know, you can start preparing yourself now for starting to look for a job and starting to think about your graduate outcomes. You can work on your CV now. You can make sure you've got a LinkedIn profile. And so, you know, there's a ton of support provided by TU Dublin. And also, you know, there's steps that individual students can take right now. Hey, look, this kind of brings us into the business faculty, and you know, it's always it's difficult in these current times to get our head out of the immediate coronavirus, you know, questions.
Crisis.
The crisis, and I think you've covered that really well on, you know, what support is being provided, what is the autumn going to look like. But how about the more general question? You know, why should a student come to study business at TU Dublin?
Yeah, well, we make a very clear distinction, Jacob, about the responsibility, for example, of the university and the employer. So first of all, back to your point, we would have incredible engagement with the industrial sector in Ireland, which, as you say, has a huge multinational element. So employing students from different cultures and different backgrounds is not an issue. They take students from all around the world. They have a very sophisticated, as you know, their own kind of visa processing departments. And there, again, if you go down to Google's headquarters in Dublin's Grand Canal, it is like the United Nations. Go down to their canteen. They have food from every culture in the world. I've been down there, so I know I've sampled it. It's phenomenal. But it's really important. Our responsibility, we believe, in the university is to make graduates work ready. And that's really important because it's the employer's job to make them job ready. And that's why we have this really good connection with industry, because our graduates are work ready. They have the basic skills because it's practice based. So when they arrive on site to work for a company, they're ready to work. They have the basics, they know what they're doing, and then it's up to the employer, obviously, to do their own induction on top of that. But it's a really important distinction, I think, is that they arrive graduated, work ready, because they have work experience from some of the programs or doing consultancy work or whatever. And when the employer sees what they've done, they say, these people are trained pragmatically, they're trained practically. We take the theory and we bring it down to practice. And that's an important one. We had a jobs fair, Jacob, just before we broke up last February. And we had space, I think, in our base area, our courtyard, which is like our exhibition center, for 40 employers. And we got applications from 80. We had to turn down 40 employers. We couldn't give them space. And these were serious people from around town. So, you know, back to your point, pre-coronavirus, it was booming, and we expect to get back there. We bounce back quickly as a small economy. And we just need to ride this thing out. But you know, the world can't stop. You know, it has to go on. The students have to come. They have to get educated. Being fully online, in our view, is not the ultimate answer. It might be a temporary answer for some universities, whatever. But you know, it's this personal contact and personal service that's at the core of what we do, and that's how we differentiate ourselves, I think.
And that's a real strength of TU Dublin. And it's a real strength of the business faculty, isn't it? You know, that's where I think we see that you know, those links to employers really paying
employers
off
is
in
very
that
strong.
faculty in particular.
Yeah.
Dr. Buckley, would you like to tell us a bit about the program that you're responsible for, the MSc in business and entrepreneurship? And I guess, you know, for people interested in it, you know, obviously this is important, but also for people interested in other programs, you know, here's a chance to hear a bit more about, you know, what is it like to study at TU Dublin from the point of view of one program in particular.
Great. Yeah, Jacob, I had a few slides, but I'm not sure how to upload them. So maybe if I sent them to you afterwards, you could pass them on to maybe people who are interested. Yeah, we keep the flow going. Well, first of all, as I say, we have a dedicated campus. It's a really interesting building. If anybody goes onto the website, it's the Ainger Street campus. And it's a very famous old building because it was involved it's a very historical building. It was a cookie or biscuit factory beforehand, but it was involved in the Irish Rising of 1916 and all the rest. But the site was actually given to us in 1998 by the government, and we built a campus. So it's actually a purpose-built business school. I don't, you know, it was probably one of the first ones of the modern era. And so the building itself is superb. We have plenty of space. We accommodate up to 5,000 students. It's open from early in the morning till late at night because we have a huge part-time provision as well. As I said, and the international students then can stay on campus for as long as they particularly like. We have a library on campus as well, which is probably in the top 1 or 2 business libraries in the whole country. And we pride ourselves on that from day one. Again, it's a beautiful library. When the students come, they'll see that. When my own students arrive, I normally do, with my colleague, Alex Gibson, who runs the Masters in International Business, because we have a big international element between the 2 programs. We would have a lot of international students. We classically, what we do is we do a 2-day induction with the students. So again, in terms of getting visas processed and all the rest, you know, I really love to have them there. Sometimes, obviously, they can't make it and we have to do it separately, but I love them to be there because in the 2 days, they get a real feel for the expectations, but also it gives them a very good grounding. Because my own program is, we've 2 programs at graduate level. One are for business graduates who want to go on and do a specialty master's in international business, strategic management, technology management. There's lots of variations. And then we also have conversion programs, which mine is a good example of. So my program takes in non-business graduates. Now, I just want to maybe impress to everybody, if I could, we use a term here for people with non-business undergraduates called STEM, which is, you know, we have science, technology, engineering and maths. Now we insert an A in that and we call it STEAM. So I take science, technology, engineering, arts, humanities and social science and maths, because we believe that diversity breeds creativity. So people from different backgrounds, imagine in the classroom that we have artists sitting with scientists, sitting with technologists, and when you mix all that together, we get fantastic outcomes. And so we're interested in graduates from all backgrounds. If they're interested in doing a conversion course to business, my program in particular is suitable because we do the building blocks in the first semester of business and entrepreneurship, and then they apply the knowledge in the second semester by doing a consultancy project, by doing some more modules, and then they do a dissertation to finish out by the following September. So it's a 12-month program, if you like, September to the following September. Classes finish in May, exams in June, and then the student can stay in Ireland if they want, and up to September to finish out, and the graduation would be in November. Or some students go home after the June period and finish out their dissertation from home. So again, a great degree of flexibility in how they can do this. But I just want to again emphasize, if we have a student who wants to do, has done their undergraduate degree and then wants to specialize in business, and that combination is incredible. Just give you 2 examples. I had an Indian student, wonderful young lady, and she was a physiotherapist. That was her training. She was a medic. came and did the business, and she was very ambitious, and she's now working for Accenture in Dublin in their technology sector. So again, what the employers are looking for now are people who perhaps have done an undergraduate degree, very passionate about it, can maybe not business related, and then have a business qualification. And that combination gives them the kind of rounded person that they see as the raw material for their training in the likes of Accenture or Deloitte or PwC and all of these people. So we had another graduate, I won't go on and on, but this guy was actually a landscape architect. Worked that one out. The guy had been a professional golfer, went to university, did landscape architecture, and then did the business, masters in business and entrepreneurship, and is now working, would you believe, as a tax consultant. So there's many ways of laddering your career, and I think that's really important as well, Jacob. I think we really need to get that across, that young people find it difficult sometimes to make choices as they come towards masters. You would hope they start to see a little bit, but when they're exposed to particularly the business subjects, it's extraordinary what they lock onto. Obviously entrepreneurship, you would expect we get people who come with very defined ideas, and we validate those and test it. And if the ideas have merit, we have an incubation service called Hot House within the university, which is tied into Enterprise Ireland, who are the government agency, and they can give up to €15,000 to seed a business. So there is a pathway for entrepreneurship. Then there's a pathway into employment. And the other thing that's becoming increasingly important is people coming to us looking to open and start social enterprises, which are really important. So cultural enterprises, social enterprise, community enterprises. So a lot of students come to us and then go home and apply their knowledge at home, which is fantastic. And we stay in touch with them through LinkedIn and see some of the wonderful things that they're actually doing. And sorry, the fourth pathway is to stay with us. And we've had a number of students. My program has had, over the years, we've had 5 people through with PhDs. They actually stayed with us and studied on the PhD. 2 of whom, by the way, are actually working with us. We kept them on as well. They were so good. So so there is many pathways. And back to your point, Jacob, about the career service. We probe all that with them the minute they walk in the door. The career service will make a presentation to them in the first few weeks and keep at them over the whole period. Have you developed your CV? What are you interested in? What are you doing? What is your career path? What would you like to do? And the other people that we really get some tremendous people in from are people coming to us from usually from Asia, from family businesses. And they may have done an undergraduate degree away from the business, but the family would say, would you be interested in business? And they come and they do this, and it's fascinating to watch. And the kind of scales come off their eye. Oh, this is what the family have been doing for many, many years. And yet it is something I want to be part of. So I think there's a lot of pathways, a lot of flexibility.
Dr. Buckley, that is so exciting to hear, the range of students that you have with the range of backgrounds, and that actually business is not closed off to them because they've done
not at all.
medical degree
arts degree, whatever.
And in fact, possibly even there's greater opportunities because that diversity that they bring to an employer, with a background in an undergraduate in one degree, your master's degree, they're then really rounded and diverse individuals. And look at that range of outcomes, Accenture, traditional employment, startups starting their own business, tax consultant, huge range. And of course, in Ireland, those graduates from your master's program can take advantage of that 2-year post-study work visa, and so they have those 2 years to set themselves up in a career. Look, I think I'm going to finish recording in a moment.
Great.
And let me know if there's a kind of last word or two that you'd like to share with everybody. But if you wouldn't mind staying on the line, we'll then take some questions if there are any.
No problem. Jacob, if I could just again back to your point to kind of encourage everybody. Please, if people are interested, get the applications in. The visa is the delay around visas is a constant thorn in Jacob's side and my side in terms of getting the students through. And there's nothing as frustrating to me as somebody who's delayed because of a visa. It's a terrible reason to miss the start of the program, and sometimes they're in catch up for. Now we do obviously intensify what we do with them, but they miss, for me, the induction is really important. We put a huge effort into those 2 days. And I know the university, Jacob would know, like even the week that they arrive, the university meets them at the airport and they get an induction to Dublin. And then I'm battling with them to get the student of them to bring them to my induction so that they get, the granular thing. Here's your program, here's what you're doing, and here's what we expect from you. But if they miss all that, it does put them a little bit on the back foot, so really just, get them to get it in, get it early. They can always change. I know none of us like this, but they can always change their mind, the fare, whatever, if that becomes an issue. But, get the application in, get the place. And as I say, it's as long as they have the honours degree and the IELTS 6.5 overall, particularly if it's a non-English speaking country, for me, and a background in, I will look at everybody. I think it's really the diversity for us is diversity and inclusion are crucial.
Yeah, that's great. And just to add, of course, right now the university is accepting equivalents and alternatives to IELTS,
of course,
the Duolingo test, the TOEFL test. So Look, that's so good to hear, Dr. Buckley. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us. I'm going to end the recording now, and then we'll stay on the line and
no problem, Jacob. Yeah, it's fantastic. Great. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.